You know, when I first started this channel, TheAstuteParent, and if you told me I'll get 2,000 views for a particular video, I'll be so happy. I'll go to bed happy that night. But yesterday, I actually deleted one video that had 2.2k in terms of views. That video is none other than 1M65 mistakes. That video actually had 38% dislikes. And with any video or any channel, there's definitely going to be haters. 5%, 10% haters, that's fine. They are wasting time being haters. But when there's 38% dislikes, I have to look at the content again and really decide, have I delivered that message properly? Have I delivered that impact properly? Right now, TheAstuteParent, this channel, I feel we have grown together to a significant size such that there's certain impact on sharing ideas already, which means I have to take better responsibility in terms of the message that's put up. I look back at the video, I didn't quite like some of the analogies that I tried to use at that point of time. That's why I'm redoing this video. And in any case, I would like to bring upon this actually shared by Guy Kawasaki. He worked with Steve Jobs in Apple's initial years. What Guy Kawasaki suggests is always, don't worry, be crappy. What that means is, when it comes to innovation, there can be elements of crappiness to it. When I first started this channel, when I first started producing videos, I practiced so hard creating analogies because that's how videos are nicer to view. I cannot read from script. That's why innovation at the start, when you do innovation at the start, your end product looks crappy and that video looked crappy, although it's so highly ranked on Google search. But I have to redo that, and that's why this video. And today I'm going to touch on a few key points. The first, I'm going to touch on 1M65. I'm going to really explain to you what I understand from it. In any case, there's actually a Telegram channel that's specifically dedicated to that. So they have a lot more information. I'll share with you preliminary what I understand. The second part of the video, I'll touch on alternatives. I'll touch on why I practice certain alternatives. I'm not a firm believer of that concept, but that is just me. There is certain merits to it, which I think I tried to shoot down incorrectly in the first video. And the third part of it, I'll give you certain reflections on my own investment journey, my own personal finance journey. Hopefully that impacts you in a certain way, and with that, let's start the video rolling. 1M65 is actually created by Mr. Lu, and he has actually a dedicated website and Telegram channel for it. So in any case, I'll leave links below. So if you're curious, go and find out a little bit more from yourself and learn from members over there. In any case, I'll share with you what I briefly understand, as well as to give you a quick dummy's guide to what exactly is 1M65. In any case, 1M means 1 million. It's not anything else. 1M65 is 1 million by age 65. So this is over in the FAQ. Let me pull it out for you to see how to achieve 1M65. If you have 130,000 inside your CPFSA and CPF MA in combined, 130,000, you can reach $1 million by age 65. How does it actually work? Because CPFSA and CPF MA give you 4%. So if you're not too sure, I've actually a previous tutorial on CPF strategies. So look for those if you're not familiar with CPF at all. But if, assuming you understand CPFSA gives you 4% and CPF MA gives you 4%, I'd like to also quickly justify that it can actually work. 4%, 130,000, 4% compounding for 35 years gets you 512,991. Now, if you work together with your spouse, 512,991 times 2, you reach $1 million. So as mentioned in this subsequent part over here, it's recommended that both these accounts get maxed out so that you can enjoy the 4%. In case CPFSA has extra 1% for the first 40,000. So just using 4% is already pretty good. Now let's move on to other key requirements of 1M65. The first three are okay, but the last point, special attention to that. Don't spend too much on your property. Now, this is very important because to achieve more inside your CPF special account, you need to use cash. You need to do voluntary top-ups. You need to transfer OA to SA. So there is some price to pay, which usually means that if you have a lot of property mortgage liability, then it's going to impede your ability to do so. So this is actually correct. Don't spend too much on your property. But I'll show you an alternative point of view in the part 2 of this video. So now let's move on to some other questions that you may have on CPF. So what happens after I turn age 55? Do you know that any amounts above full retirement sum can be withdrawn? If you understand it, leave a yes below so that I understand where you are in terms of this knowledge. But in any case, if you have more, if you have say 200,000 and full retirement sum is 181,000, you can actually withdraw 19,000 out. So that is something you need to know, the CPF rules of it. In any case, I have a previous tutorial, so I'll leave links below to that tutorial. Follow that, it will answer a lot of your questions. So I've always this thought, when I reach closer to 55, I would really put in a lot into CPF. By then, the window is quite short. I can withdraw it out after that full retirement sum is determined. So as of now, I'm only in my 30s. So I'm not too keen to put too much in. So it really depends on perspective, which I'll also cover in the third part of this video sharing today. So what are the potential drawbacks of 1M65? Now, every idea, every scheme has certain price to pay. So if you want to reach 1 million by 65, you have to understand you are sacrificing your liquidity, which is mentioned over here. It's a one-way ticket. It's irreversible. You cannot contribute to CPF special account and expect to withdraw it. It's not a bank account. If not, they won't give you 4%. But it reduces your liquidity until age 55. Now, this current pandemic, this COVID-19 pandemic has shown if you are not without too much cash savings, you may run into trouble. So always consider whether you have enough cash savings before you do top-ups to your CPF. So that's a very important learning lesson, especially from what we see from this pandemic. But I think I have something to show you also. If in any case you feel, hey, topping up to CPF is one-way ticket, I don't like illiquidity. Look at this, which is what was mentioned by Mr. Lu. He's also mentioned the more illiquid an asset is, the more possible it is to harness the power of compounding to snowball your wealth. I agree with that 100% because in any case, when it comes to investing, I've actually handled a lot of investment portfolios. When times are bad, people want to sell out. I've stressed many times before in this community. When times are bad, that's where the advisor comes in to really ensure that no knee-jerk, no emotional decision is made to liquidate investments. CPF is a tight piggy bank. Once you put it in, you cannot take it out. So if you have no control over emotion, if you're new to investing especially, it's very important. Illiquidity actually protects you from stupid mistakes. So this, I 100% agree. The more illiquid an asset is, the more possible it is to harness the power of compounding to snowball your wealth. I've also a subsequent, in the next section, I'll touch on an alternative, which is in property investing. Property is illiquid also. So let's look at it specifically, whether it can deliver this piggy bank effect to you, as well as give you that compounding effect of 4% per annum. Let's move on to the next section. Okay, in this section, we look at alternatives, like what I promised to you in the previous section, properties as well as equities. But in any case, when it comes to investing, there can be periods whereby you lose money. When it comes to investing, you're not guaranteed of reaching your retirement goals, your investment objectives. So again, when it comes to putting your money into CPF, it is safe and sound. It's a very different path. So let's look at properties over here. I have this to show you. This is actually the property index long-term performance. And what do you see over here? Let's move on from the 1980s portion, because at that period of time, there's a tremendous spike in property prices because people are able to use their CPF for housing and stuff. So let's look only at year 2000. In any case, when it comes to 4% real return, a very simple way to understand is when you have 4% real return, you have it compounding for 20 years, you double your money. Make sense? 4% return, 20 years, you double your money. You have 130,000, 4% return, 20 years, you have 260,000. So this chart over here is actually the property index. And what we can see over here, if we use 20 years, from year 2000 to now, you realize that the index kind of doubled from 80 to 160. But property is a different animal. It has so much headaches. I've done in previous sharings, tenant headaches, property taxes, etc., etc. You can look for previous videos. I'll leave one, how I actually own a condo with $1,092. That video explained some of the headaches, some of the math to understanding property investments. But property can deliver this 4% rate of return. And that doesn't even factor in another thing, which is tenant returns. If you have yield from your property, then that could actually increase your rate of return over a long period of time. But the real magic of property is actually in leverage. That's undoubtedly because property is one of the things whereby you can borrow money at a very low cost to really improve your rate of return. So over here, what we understand, if you own a 1 million property, you only need to down 250,000 if you have a loan to valuation of 75%. That means you only need 250,000 to get exposure to $1 million worth of investment exposure. So in all ways, property has that element of leverage. It also has that element of being a safe piggy bank whereby you cannot sell it quickly, emotionally trigger a sell-off, etc., etc. So property has certain benefits of it being illiquid also. That is what I like about property. But let's move on to the second part, which is equities. But equities is a real nightmare for new investors. Equities, when markets come down, new investors typically throw in the towel. That's why in this channel, I've always advocated certain mistakes that new investors make. And if you are new to investing, look for those other videos, those other tutorials that will tell you on investment mistakes. But I have a further source to add for you when it comes to equity investment. Why not invest using monies you have contributed to SRS. I have a previous article on my website, TheAstuteParent, that mentioned self-employed citizens, why contribute to SRS over CPF. Now, in that article, I have a few key points. The first is when it comes to SRS contributions, you have the flexibility to invest into different instruments. You can get into equities, like what I mentioned, STI index, funds that have a regional exposure, etc., etc. And the main thing is this: you have the flexibility to withdraw out your SRS. It has a certain penalty if you are withdrawing wrongly, but in any case, in this pandemic, we kind of realized the benefits of liquidity also. CPFSA monies, you can never take it out. SRS, if you have certain tremendous problems, you can still withdraw it out. So kind of like a backdoor kind of a situation. So back to the point of using SRS to invest in equities, I want to quickly show you on STI's index performance also. This over here is STI's performance for the 25 years kind of a thing. And what I'm trying to tell you is this blue line over here is the bottom of STI's performance at a global financial crisis. And I'm not telling you that you can time the bottom as well as to exit before the market crash. That is that's the line I'm trying to tell you to avoid. That does not happen. I've shared in this community many times before that investing mistakes such as hoping to get the bottom does not exist. Investment mistakes to try to sell out at the point of correction is also an investment mistake. So I want to actually direct your attention to the orange line over here. What you see over there, if you buy somewhere in the journey down for equity markets, you can possibly have a very good rate of return. You could double your monies in 5 years instead of 20 years. Those are possibilities. Those are those are benefits that comes with you understanding the risk you're taking on. So again, that is not a guaranteed outcome. It's just to illustrate to you at different periods of time, especially when markets are in a crisis, you realize that your returns are super normal. Why do I say that? I have this chart to show you over here. Top 3 asset classes by performance. Take a look at the top left hand corner. US equities in 2016, 33.55%. That is ridiculous. That will not be repeated every year. If not, everybody is a billionaire already. But in case at some periods of time, equities go up at super normal pace. Equities don't go up a straight line. You can project CPF returns in an exponential curve. That is factual. That works. When it comes to equities, there'll be parts whereby you do 33% and then you lose double digits also. So that journey is a lot more rocky. But at certain periods of time, it is very clear to me at least that it will certainly outperform 4% rate of return. So in the next section, I'll actually share with you my own personal finance approach and some of the reflections I have looking again at this 1M65 topic. Producing this video took me 6 to 10 hours, filming, editing, etc, etc. I'm speaking until my mouth is tired already. So help me smash the like button so that more people can see it. When I first deleted that old video, it was a little baby that I had to give up. But I believe this message delivered today is a lot better. It is a lot more useful to the masses. I come from a self-employed background. I'm running business, which means every day I'm fighting competition. Every day there's no safety net. But my approach, my point of view does not apply to masses. I have so many friends in public sector and it's iron rice bowl. It's really a different perspective. So I realized my initial video on really not having safety net is not correct. If I apply that to the masses, it might cause damage. That's why I think this video is a lot better. It's a lot more useful to the masses because most people are in careers. And that's why I'm redoing this video. And again, if you haven't subscribed, smash on subscribe button. I'll be launching videos every week to help you in your financial journey. Now, I've also launched before previous controversial articles. I've mentioned before, emergency fund is a myth. That is because, again, I come from this perspective where I'm trying to impose what I see onto the masses, which may not be correct. Emergency fund is very useful to you, especially this pandemic is proved. Emergency fund is ultimately very important. So that is something that you might find interesting. Look for article below. I've also mentioned before, if you're a parent, to contribute to CDA account instead of your child's CPFSA. That again comes from my point of view whereby liquidity is everything. In business, liquidity is your lifeblood. If you don't have liquidity, you're gone. That's why liquidity is very important. Liquidity is where I make the magic happen. But again, if you're a parent and you don't really need liquidity like what I need, maybe CPFSA contributing to your kid is a much better idea. But if you're a parent, look for that article. It could give you certain tips also. So I'd like to end on with this by dollars and cents. He actually did an interview with Mr. Lu, and there's some things that I would like to really echo and end off this video with. Personally, my wife and I have not only achieved 1M65 but exceeded it through sheer hard work and prudent deployment of our CPF money early in life. We were able to hit 1 million by age of 45. Now that's fantastic. Hard work, prudence are all things that I believe in. That's why I kind of changed the tone a bit. I would encourage everybody to be prudent and hardworking. And nonetheless, 1M65, while I'm not the biggest fan, quite obviously, of it, I think any method that gets you 1M65 is not only possible but very achievable. Any method that I suggest to you today when it comes to investing does not have that level of guarantee. That's the truth of it. So if this message of 1M65 helps you, gets you that certainty, then it already works. So I'll still encourage you to look for links below on them. But in case if you have questions, leave them in the comment sections. I'll pick up each and every one of them. With that, I'll sign off. Take care and goodbye.